So, it begins. Welcome back to Movies TV Man. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. You can follow me on X, Twitter at Movies TV Man, and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Man X, and on TikTok Mad Mickey's World, and on Snapchat BMouth60 Mick, your host with the most. A very warm welcome to Saturday's edition of the DCU Daily. Yes, it was only a few weeks ago when Mike DeLuca and Pam Adby, according to the press, were going to be out of a job. Then all of a sudden, Minecraft is a hit, and the whole thing has turned around on its head. I never believed that Zaslav wanted them out. I think Mike DeLuca and Pam Adby have got great experience. I think the films that have flopped are not down to them. These were things that were greenlit and were beyond their control. You can't blame them for the flop that was Joker 2. No way. But these are great people, and I do believe they're going to be giving WB a great future, and they've been speaking about Superman. So yes, Mike DeLuca and Pam Adby, the co-CEOs of Warner Brothers Pictures, did a big interview for Deadline.com. We're not going to read all of that out, but we are going to talk about what Mike DeLuca had to say about Superman. Warner Brothers Pictures co-CEO Mike DeLuca chats about Superman. I love Superman. I think James Gunn has crushed it. It's got tons of his trademark heart and humour and action. It's jaw-dropping. It's the Superman I grew up with, so I get choked up when I watch it. I think it's so epic and visually arresting and emotional. The performances are great. It is a 5-star movie to me, and I can't wait for the world to see it. Yeah, we're really excited about Superman. James crushed it. I would say in spirit it is closer to Donner's Superman, but it's also a big hunk of an epic sci-fi. It has a little bit of what I loved about Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's true blue Superman. The conflict sources that he uses for inspiration, all-star Superman, and the like are in there too. It is really a love letter to what has made Superman endure for almost 100 years. He managed to get it all in there. This is how you sell your movie. This is how a studio talks about a movie. It's got to be a united front. He gives James Gunn plaudits. He speaks very, very highly about the movie. And if he's speaking the truth about this movie, we could have something very, very special. And this is why I believe this film at the very least will be a soft core hit, a low core hit. But it could be bigger than that. It could be smaller than that. Nobody knows at this point. Of course, he's the co-CEO of Warner Brothers Pictures. Of course, he's going to be talking the movie up. You would expect that. But this is going to be huge now, because from next week, from the 18th of April, when it's Superman Day, they're going to be pushing ahead. And what I want to see from this marketing campaign from the 18th of April is that Superman is everywhere. Billboards, toys, wherever I look, there's TV spots, right? Everyone's talking about Superman, right? Superman, Superman, Superman. It was a bit like the marketing for Batman 89. Cups, toys. It was everywhere. We had no internet, don't forget. But the film was everywhere. You picked up a newspaper, it was everywhere. You put the radio on, it was there. We were so overdosed before we saw the film that we believed we were going to see the best film of all time. We didn't see the best film of all time, but it was a really great Batman movie, and Tim Burton did what Tim Burton does, something absolutely wonderful. And this is what we need to see from the marketing of this movie. So to go back to Adby and DeLuca, they have been in this industry for a very long time. They absolutely know what they're doing, and Minecraft has been a big hit for them already. Now, the Robert Pattinson movie, that Mickey movie, Mickey 17, Mickey 20, whatever it is, hasn't done too well. But that's an auteur movie. Auteur movies are a gamble. As a studio, as an industry, what you've got to do is what old Hollywood used to do. Make sure you're making money on the blockbusters, so the smaller movies, if they fail, it's not the end of the world. Because we live in an environment now, we live in the Rotten Tomatoes era. If you're using Rotten Tomatoes as a barometer in a debate about films, you've already lost that argument. And why is it called Rotten Tomatoes? Why isn't it called Fresh Tomatoes? Because it's supposed to cause negativity. And I never look at it. No one's going to tell me whether I should be seeing a movie or not. I don't go to reviews. I'm not interested in reviews. I'm interested in what the fans think. I'm interested in the most important person's opinion to me, and that's me at the end of the day. And so I really like what Mike DeLuca has said about Superman here. It's very good. I'm glad that they're coming out to speak, but it's interesting. Why were those reports coming out about, Zaslav looking to replace Adby and DeLuca with Peter Safran? I don't believe that was ever the case. So obviously there was some kind of psychological games being played by Zaslav, but why was he doing it? Maybe he wants the industry to underestimate Warner Brothers. I don't know. Maybe he wanted the markets to do something. I don't know what was going on. But clearly, someone told, Variety and THR, to put these stories out, and they were getting the blame for Warner Brothers not doing really, really well in the past few years. And it's not their fault. They've come in to find Warner Brothers Pictures in such a state. They've had to get that house in order. And Minecraft, I believe, is just the beginning. I think this is the beginning of a great year for Warner Brothers Pictures, and I believe that Superman will be a hit. James Hawes discusses lanterns. On the tonal comparison of lanterns to True Detective, talking tone, it looks and feels rooted. You meet two guys, but there is a wit and comedy to it that you would not expect in True Detective. It is, in many ways, a buddy cop structure. We travel in the story time to and from that is really sophisticated. Chris Mundy has done the most amazing job with the team there. And so I think the True Detective comparison is valid. People will still go, what were you talking about, to some extent, but I would also bring in No Country for Old Men, Fargo, and things that have that Americana heart to them. There's a weary humour, and so there definitely is more wit and humour than there is in True Detective. On Aaron Pierre's casting as John Stewart, I honestly think he did it totally individually in the room with some chemistry, castings and the like. It just felt like he would inhabit the role. He has such a magnificent presence. He feels so forceful, so cool, so understated. Again, I wanted this world to be rooted. And while there's only so far you can go with rooting characters in a show about Green Lantern, they are. This is a world where we accept that the Green Lanterns exist and aliens exist. So the rest of it is played straight and in the world as we know it. On DC Studios' leadership, well, I can only tell you from my experience, which is that it has been inspiring and supportive and truly thrilling. I will know more in a few months' time, but right now, Lanterns just felt like a real burst of creative energy. So I think James Hawes is speaking very directly and very honest. I must admit, reading this, I feel a lot more confident about this show than I did a few months ago. Mike DeLuca also spoke up about Matt Reeves and the Batman 2. The Batman 2 script is not ready yet. Matt Reeves is a writer-director auteur in his own right, and that it will come when he's written his best Batman script and is ready. So, very short and sweet there. Obviously, publicly, they are backing him. It's an interesting situation. But we had a similar situation with the Batman movie and script. He's a very, very notorious slow writer. And that's a good thing for the movie. You don't want someone rushing this. Now, On the rumours and the gossip on the internet that this film isn't happening, there's a lot of whispers behind the scenes, and I've tried to explain this before. It's clear they don't want two Batmen. I don't know what's going on with the DCU Batman. That's an interesting thing. I don't really want to talk about the DCU Batman too much till after I've seen Superman. It is my belief that we will have more clarity on the DCU Superman. Let me say it again. I think we'll have more clarity on the DCU Batman once we've all seen Superman, and then we can talk about it. I think it would be the right thing to do to have a Batman, a DCU Batman cameo in Superman. It would get everyone so excited, because the rumor is that Superman's next foray in the DCU will be a movie with Batman, and that would be really, really exciting for the fans. You can't launch the House of L family in Superman and Supergirl and then not go and launch Batman sooner rather than later. But it's been challenging for James Gunn and DC Studios because they inherited a pre-existing Batman. And that's not James Gunn's fault. What do? You can't have two Batmen, right? I've said before, if any character could deal with two of the same character, it will be Batman, because he is one of the most popular characters, fictional characters in the world. But it's a big gamble, and I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, imagine the meltdown if Robert Pattinson cameos as the DCU Batman in Superman. And I'm not saying that that isn't possible. I don't think Rob wants to do that, but who knows? So, I'm not mates with Rob, I don't know. These are just assumptions from what people say to me from within the industry. But fascinating. And the Superman situation is absolutely fascinating. So next week, from the 18th of April, is huge. It's when the marketing push begins. You're going to see James Gunn speaking to Jim Lee and other comic book people. There's going to be a celebration of Superman. And we should finally see the main trailer for Superman. And what I want from this trailer is a bit of everything. A bit of comedy, a bit of drama. We need to see Lois. We need to see Lois speak. We want to see some proper interactions between Clark and Lois. Lois and Clark. I think that would be very interesting as well. But I believe from Superman Day onwards, they're going to keep on pushing this movie. They've already promised that they're going to do the kind of marketing they did for Barbie. And the marketing for Barbie actually sold the movie to the public. And, I say that your average marketing drive doesn't really convince anyone whether they're going to go and see a movie or not. But if you give it the big push and it's everywhere, then you make people feel that this is a huge event, which it should be. And I believe it will be a huge event. Now, people are going to say to me, Mick, what about these fan wars? Yeah, these fan wars don't help. The Gunn Bros are very off-putting, right? It doesn't really make you want to be supportive to this movie. And I'm a Superman fan and I want to support this movie, right? I don't know what it is, right? But I want to support this movie. And then you've got the Snyder fans who are never going to shut up. They're never going to shut up, even if they end up with egg on their face and this film is a huge success. And I think that's the bigger meltdown. If this film is successful, that will be a huge moment. A huge moment for Warner Brothers Discovery, not just for Gunn and Safran, but also for Adby and DeLuca, because they are the co-CEOs of Warner Brothers Pictures. So I think Minecraft has given them a little bit of confidence now. And I think if Superman can be a great movie, a successful movie, it's a big moment for them, because Adby and DeLuca are no mugs. So if you've got Gunn and Safran being successful at DC Studios, if you've got Adby and DeLuca being successful at Warner Brothers Pictures, Warner Brothers growing up was my favourite studio. I want them to be a success. And Snyder fans don't want them to be a success because they want everything to fail so they can say, you see, without, no Snyder, no money, wallets in our pockets, you can't do anything without Snyder. And I've said before, I love Zack. I'd like him to have a corner in the DC universe. But I don't want Snyder World. I don't want Snyder doing everything. And that's basically what the Snyder fans want. So we disagree there. But I agree with them that Zack and his team and his actors were done dirty, and he should have been allowed to finish what he started. But, like it or lump it, there is a Superman film coming. There's a brand new DC universe. It's happening. It's had its problems, it's had its good things, it's had its bad things. But on July the 11th, actually I'll be able to see it before July the 11th because it's coming here in Cyprus, I think, about 2 or 3 days. I think 3 days. I think if the release date in America is the Friday, I'll be able to see it on the Wednesday. And we're going to go through it. We're going to do a proper review. This is Superman. I don't mess about when it comes to Superman or a big DC movie. I'll be there with you. And finally, we can talk about this movie.